What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you the first profile on the channel for the brand new TCG exclusive being RB. Now this is a pure RB profile. This is all about aggression. This is go second, but I'm going to talk you through the list, tell you some of the cards you can change out if you want to be more aggressive, put some of the cards you can change in if you want to be a bit more balanced, and kind of the other engines that you can utilize with this deck to get its max potential with the first wave of support that we currently have. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile, show you what we've got, explain all of the brand new RB cards so you have a bit of an idea. It's definitely one of these, if you are a machine deck fan, you should be looking to pick up a core like this. There isn't anything crazy expensive, and this is all on its first wave of support, which I do feel is very, very fun, as you have that ability to go for balance or aggression, depending on which way you want to go. So, starting off with the first card of the RB strategy. So this is the RB Volcan Rocket. So as you can see, it is a level 5 machine. That is quite important because if you are a machine enthusiast for the Yu-Gi-Oh decks, you will know that level 5 machines can equal a Cyber Dragon Infinity. So you control no face-up monsters, or the only face-up monsters you control are RB monsters. You get to special summon this card from the hand. You can only special summon it once per turn this way. If this card is linked to an RB link monster, you get to pay 1,000 life points and then target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them and this card, and then you inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each card that was destroyed. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this is your aggressor. Unfortunately, it's not a quick effect, but that's where the other pieces of the RB cards come into play, as they will be. So the second RB card we play is free RB GA10 Cutter. So again, the exact same as the previous one. If you control no face-up monsters, or the only face-up monsters you control are RBs, you get to special on this card from the hand. You can only special on it once per turn. However, when your opponent's spell, trap, or effect is activated, and this card is linked to an RB link monster, you get a quick effect to pay 700 life points and then destroy this card. If you do, negate that effect and then destroy that card of said spell or trap that has been activated. Then the final RB piece that we currently play is, of course, free of the RB GA10 Driller. So if you control no face-ups, or only face-ups are RBs, special summon it from the hand, and can only do that once per turn. Its effect, however, is during the main phase, if this card is linked to an RB link monster, you get a quick effect, pay 500 life points to target one monster your opponent controls, destroy both that monster and this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now it's actually quite important because there is an RB card that when you destroy something like the Driller, it can actually tag itself back into a different RB monster, which is really important. I'll show you that in a second. The highest rarity card of the RB strategy currently is, of course, RB Stage Landing. Now, this is the card that is pretty much give or take. And what I mean by that one is this is the one that has the harshest restriction on the entire deck, which stops you being a little bit more explosive with some of the other decks that you can play, or the engines you can provide within this deck. So you special summon an RB monster from the deck or extra deck with a different name than the cards you control. Absolutely amazing. This gives you direct access to your Link 3, your Link 2, or any of your pieces from the deck, with a different name than the card you currently control. If an RB monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to banish this card from the grave instead. However, you cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn you activate this card, except machine monsters with 1500 or less original attack. So that kind of shows that the rest of the RB monsters will all be 1500 or less attack from the extra deck, but the benefit, quite like with the Brute Blues, is a card that will gain more attacks depending on what RB monster it is pointing to. The other benefit of a card like RB Stage Landing is it's not a once per turn. So if you were to go into a Link 2, if you were to go into your Link 3, and it does get destroyed or it does get stopped, you can just activate another RB Stage Landing and get you another card. Or, even if it doesn't get destroyed, you can still activate the RB Stage Landing and get you another RB monster to add to that field. Then we are on free of the RB Funk Dock. So this is a field spell that when it is activated, you add an RB card from the deck to the hand, and the best thing about that is you can get directly into your Stage Landing should you need it and or want it. Except itself. Each time a monster or monsters your opponent controls is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you gain 500 life points. If a face-up RB monster or monsters you control leaves the field by card effect, except during the damage step, you get to special summon an RB monster from the deck. You can only use this effect once per turn, and you can only activate one RB Funk Dock per turn. So you can see how this can kind of really help you, that when you're destroying your own RB monsters to utilize their effects, whether it's destroying two of your opponent's cards, one of your opponent's monsters, or a spell or trap, it can then float into another one, which is really, really important. It's also another way that you can get two of your RB rockets onto the field. So if you utilize one of the other RB pieces and that gets destroyed, it can float into another level 5, and that's how you're going to be able to work your way into a Nova and Infinity if you haven't already activated or don't plan to activate the stage landing. Moving into the other field spell that we play within this deck, we are playing the 1 Terraforming because getting consistency to the RB Funk Dock can still be quite useful, but we're also still playing Set Rotation and the 1 Firion Disc Colosseum. Now you could choose to, if you don't want to cut out a Set Rotation, Terraforming and Firion Disc Colosseum. What I quite like about Set Rotation is it can become a disruptor. So if your opponent, for example, activates Vanquish Soul Start, you can chain your Set Rotation and replace it, and straight away that then gets rid of that card. If you are going second, which is probably something you want to predominantly do with this particular deck, you can activate Set Rotation, give them Firion Disc Colosseum, get your RB Funk, and then straight away you get rid of their Vanquish Start without even needing to try to destroy it, and it means they can't protect their monsters as easily as they might want to do. Now the Firion Disc Colosseum will lead you into your one of the 2 Regulus. Again, you can play 3 Regulus should you choose to, and the benefit of a card like this is once you've already presented your field, because you're not special summoning a monster from the extra deck, you can work your way into 4 summons. So your 5th summon can actually be the Firion King Regulus, which will set you up that Omni Negate should you need to protect from a Nibiru, or it's still a 2800 monster that, as we're trying to push for an OTK, can be really, really useful in order to get that final damage off the field. The reason this Colosseum is quite good for you as well is that once per turn, if your monster would be destroyed by battle, you get to send a Firion card or an Endless Argo system from the deck to the grave instead. And then once per turn, when a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to target a Firion monster in your grave and add it back to the hand. So if you were to have your field ending with a Disc Colosseum rather than the RB Funk, you have the ability to keep recycling back your Regulus, which can then still present itself to the field as that protector that you may or may not need. The other supporting monster engine that we are utilising is free Speedroid Terratop. Now the reason that something like a Speedroid Terratop could be really useful alongside the Tuckenton Borg is that this Terratop can work its way into the RB Vulcan booster. So even if you have more RB monsters you want to utilise as extenders, you can go Terratop and go one or two ways. If you don't want to be utilising your RB cards as extenders, or you get up to something, let's say, one of your later summons, remember you don't actually need to use your normal summon. You could normal summon your Terratop rather than special summon it. That would still lead you into your Tuckenton Borg, and then the 2 options that we're using if you wanted to go down the rank 3 route is a Totem Bird or a Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. So obviously you've got the Monster Negate, and then you've got your Spell or Trap Negate. So you get a bit of flexibility because not only can it get you into one of your core pieces being the Vulcan booster, but it can also get you into Protector should you need it and or want it. Then the final kind of cards that we are playing that are utilised exactly pretty much like Terratop is 2 Urgent Schedule. So this one lets you special summon a level 4 or lower Earth, which can be 2 of your RB monsters, being your RB Driller and your RB Cutter. It can't be Vulcan because this is a fire and it's a level 5. And then the level 10 or higher, or the level 5 or higher that you're going to be summoning will be your Firion King Regulus, as that is your other Earth monster. Now, these are some of the cards you could flex out. If you want to be a bit more aggressive, some of the other cards that I have considered would be stuff like Gordian Slicer, because you don't rely on the extra deck so much, or Ultimate Slayer. I feel Ultimate Slayer can be a bit hit and miss depending against the Mitsurugi strategy and definitely against the Vanquish Soul strategy, because what you're trying to target, or usually what you would use with Ultimate Slayer, would probably be Rock of the Vanquisher, but in the matchup with Mitsurugi Rise Heels, you're probably going to go for Detonator. So you get a bit give and go, but if you wanted something that doesn't care about what is being played on the field, you can go for the Gordian Slicer. Like I said, you don't really care about your extra deck, which is why you can also play Pot of Extravagance. Now, I would advise, and I'm not doing it in this build because I only own 2 copies of the Brute Blues and the Booster, to play 3 copies of each of these. These are the cards you don't want to lose all 3 copies of when you are playing Pot of Extravagance. On the flip side of that, if you don't want to play Pot of Extravagance, you can look at those other cards like I mentioned, Ultimate Slayer, you can go for Trill Tactics Thrust, you can also work your way into Lightning Storms if you want to be a bit more aggressive. It really is up to you. But what I like about this in this particular version is you're drawing those 2 additional cards. We want to be going second, so we're already starting our hand with 6. You activate Pot of Extravagance. Not only are you trying to bait out an Ash, but if it gets past that check, you're going to be able to draw 2 fresh new cards, and those 2 cards will help you extend your either field breaking capabilities or work your way to just go RB Turbo and push him for an OTK. How are we going to easily push him for an OTK? Well, with the RB Brute Blues, it can be utilized with limiter removal. So can your other RB monsters. Now, in an ideal scenario, what you are trying to do to end the duel is you're trying to get yourself with an RB Brute Blues backed up with a GA Driller, a Cutter, and a Rocket. Then when you're activating something like a limiter removal, this will be 1,000, this will be 1,400, this will be 2,000. Your Brute Blues will be 3,000. Now, that's 3,000 base. Not to mention, and I'm just going to tell you what Brute Blues does so you have a bit of an idea before we get to it. So this requires 2+ machine monsters, and it is a link free. It gains the following effects while it points to an RB monster. It gains attack equal to the total original attack of RB monsters it points to. So it won't gain the double up off of them, but it will still gain their base, which will be a base of 23 if my math is 22 if my math is correct, and that will go on top of its already 15, which will be doubled up when you're using limiter removal. So the base of this card will be 5,200 attack, and the benefit is it can make a second attack during each battle phase. Doesn't even need to be on monsters, it can just attack twice. It can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, and then during the main phase you get to add an RB card from the deck to the hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So the benefit of being able to add an RB card is, again, if you haven't special summoned anything out of the extra deck except RBs, is you can work your way into the stage landing and extend your plays further. Or if you are missing one of those RB pieces, like the Cutter, the Rocket, or the Drill, you can grab hold of that as well and then add it to the zone it points to and just make it even stronger. The limiter removal, of course, will also double up your Furinkin Regulus if you get to it. But remember, this card can't be destroyed by card effect. So this will stay on the field. And even if you do, usually if you're activating limiter removal, you're pushing for the OTK. If you don't complete that, you still also have the Funk Dock, that if you do resolve your limiter removal, which destroys everything else but keeps your Brute Blues on the field, you'll then be able to trigger the Funk Dock, which will still allow you to get access to one of the quick play cards, whether that be for the Driller to deal with an opponent's monster or the Cutter to deal with an opponent's spell or trap. It gives you that best of both, which is really, really kind of cool. And as mentioned, if you do want to play a little bit more conservatively, during your main phase 2 is when you can do your normal summon of a Terratop, get your Tuckentonborg, and then add to that end field if you want a secondary spell or trap, that's your Totem Bird. If you want a Monster Negator alongside a Monster Pop with your Drill, you can then go into the Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. Moving on to the hand traps. Now, the hand traps of choice are entirely up to you. You can play more breakers, which is what I'm talking about when I talk about Gordian Slicer, Ultimate Slayer. You can look at Raigekis if you want to, Dark Holes if you want to go for the Nibiru route, but you've got to be very careful. You want to try and make sure you're only controlling RB monsters. That being said, you could very easily play like Book of Eclipse should you need to, but then you can't do the piercing damage. So there's a lot of things you need to take into account of what breakers you'll be looking for. So going second, as that's our primary objective, we are going to be going with the Molchami Furulos. You can play Perulia and Meowis if you feel they are going to be more effective for you, or you can add them to this. You could do a 2, 2, and 2, or what I'd probably say is more common would be 3 Fluolos and 3 Perulia, and that's when you can then sub out the spaces that I've got here for Ash Blossom, Infinite Impermanence, and Forbidden Droplet. Now, you can play free Forbidden Droplet, you can play free Trouble Tactics Thrust. I feel that if you're going to play Thrust, you're going to be relying a little bit more on talents, you're going to be relying a little bit more on those normal spell cards to be your breakers, and that's when you go, right, well, I'll take out the 3 Ashes, I'll take out the 2 Imperms, that's my free Thrust, 1 Talents, and maybe a Lightning Storm, for example. So you really do have the ability to flex it around a little bit. The reason I didn't want to go 3 Forbidden Droplets is it can get quite cloggy if you have multiple Forbidden Droplets. Even though you only really need like 2 cards to get the combo going, even like a 1 card of a Terratop can still be very, very important. And you'll understand that once I take you through the Vulcan booster. So moving on to the extra deck, I've pretty much already mentioned the Brute Blues. This is your OTK enabler. This is your aggressor, being able to attack twice in the battle phase. At the base minimum, without a limiter removal, it's going to be 1,500 plus 700, 500, and 1,000, which is 22. So that will then straight away go up to a base of 37. So that's still a very, very good, very, very good aggressor that can attack twice. And you still have the Rocket that can attack, the Drill that can attack, and the Cutter that can attack as well. So when you're doing all of that together, what's that? That's another 19, if that's right. No, another 22. So you'd end up doing, and this is where my math is going to fail me, but if you were able to attack directly with all of this, you'd be doing 22 off of the extensions to the Brute Blues. You would then be doing 15 off of the Brute Blues itself times 2, so 3,000, 5,200 plus another 200 as well, so you'd be doing 7,400 damage. So if you're able to add your normal summon of a Terratop to that, that's your game. If you're able to add a a Fearon King Regulus to that, that's also going to be your game as well. So you've got a lot of flexibility, and keeping in mind the RB core, you can pick up really cheaply. Like I picked up the Stage Landing for £5 a piece, and then the Ultra Rares are like £1 a piece, and that's kind of why I should really get a third Brute Blues and a third Vulcan booster, to be honest. So I'm only playing 2 of each because I only own 2 of each, but in the extra version, like I mentioned at the start, play 3 of these. So this is generic, it requires 2 machine monsters, and if it is linked summoned, you get to add an RB spell from the deck to your hand. If this card is in the extra monster zone, you get to special summon an RB monster from the hand or grave in defense position, and then you can move this card to it in main monster zone, which is quite important because it can kind of like free up a bit of space as well. Also, you can't special summon from the edge deck for the rest of the turn except machine monsters with 15 or less attack. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, obviously, that's the difference is that's for the rest of the turn. So if I wanted to and I wasn't going to play Stage Landing, I could very easily go, okay, cool, Terratop, summon down, overlay Terratop with Tuckenton Borg, work my way into something along the lines of a Gossip Shadow, anything like that. The benefit of something like this when you're going second is you want to use your Urgent Schedule first, because that's the card that your opponent has to control more monsters than you do, and then you can use your Terratop as your normal summon. As I mentioned, you don't really want to normal summon down any of your RB monsters. You kind of want to use them as special summons, and that's where the Terratop can be really useful for you as well. Then I've just got a generic link lineup of a Moon Goddess with an IP, SP, access code, and an Underworld Goddess. Like, you are able to splash the field quite easily. So when you're looking at the 3 RB monsters, plus you can get to a Link 2 RB monster or a Link 3, that can then become your link fodder to outer towers that a lot of people will expect in, because they'll be like, right, okay, well, I'll wait for them to make the next RB monster, and then that's when I'll try and strike. So there's a lot of little things you can look at. Then we've got the Cyber Dragon Nova and Infinity package, backed up with your 2 rank 3s I've already mentioned of Totem Bird and Bamboozled Gossip Shadow. And then we got your Typhon and, of course, your Zeus. So all of that I've shown you there, from the Underworld Goddess, the SP Little Knight, the IP Masquerade, can all become flexible options. And this is what I'm saying, is if you want to go pure RB and you only want to focus on utilising the RB cards, and you're going to lean into RB landing a lot more, which means you can't summon anything from the extra deck that isn't 1500 or less attack, 1500 or more attack, sorry, that isn't a machine. That's when you'd probably go for 3 of each of these. Don't worry about the extra, utilise the extra because you've got 3 of each of these. And then the remainder of your 9 cards in your extra deck can be stuff that are either going to be banish fodder for a Gordian Slicer, or they're going to be send fodder for the back of the Ultimate Slayer. So you've got Elder Entity Unce, you've got Adjugator, you've got Malong, you've got Packbit, sometimes you want to utilise that. And then you've also got the Link 5 Tri-Brigade to a Garura. Like, you've got loads of different options. You just don't want to use Super Poly because you don't really want to put a monster on your field that isn't an RB monster. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. Like I said, I've kind of given you a baseline and you can adapt it as you see fit. If you want to be more aggressive, by all means, you can do very, very easily. If you want to be more defensive, you can do as well and be a bit more balanced, because just ending your field on the axis of a Brute Blues with a Driller and a Cutter attached to it means it's got that ability to pop a card during the main phase and then also negate a spell or trap. And on top of that, your Brute Blues can't be destroyed by battle as long as it points to an RB monster. So it gives this as a nice little mini towers, I would say, and it also gives you the ability to search out the field spell should you want to, or a Stage Landing, so you just get to add more to it. Stage Landing can work your way into the Vulcan booster, and on and on and on you go. It's like a really kind of cool deck that kind of extends, and as you can already see, when we're looking at these card arts, so you've got like the rockets, the rockets attached to something here. The Brute Blues is the monster on its own, just as something falls behind me. So the Brute Blues is the monster on its own, but then if you go to Functor, you can see that it's the Brute Blues riding the Vulcan booster. And then when you go to the Stage Landing, you can see that it's the Brute Blues with the Drill, I believe the rockets on the back, and the Cutter. So I would hope that maybe in the next wave of support, we could probably get these two as a hybrid monster as well. Whether that be in the main deck or not, but like being able to get this as like another extra deck monster, and this is like maybe a Link 4 monster, that could be kind of cool. I suppose the only issue with a Link 4 monster is there's only 3 zones that point down, and your Brute Blues gives you all of those. So you can't really add more zones to it to make it stronger. Like, the idea is that your extra monsters are going to be 1500 or less, and then they should be able to gain attack or just make them be like utility cards to keep the deck ticking while you are under that particular lock. So I'm quite excited about seeing the second wave. Like I said, I highly advise you go and pick these up while you can. Like, these are the only cards that we have for the RBs, and the best thing about this is if you wanted to, you can utilize them with Ancient Gear, because Ancient Gear can focus on bringing the big boss monsters from the main deck rather than the extra deck should they want to go down that route. You can also then consider playing it with Cyber Dragon. What I do like about going second with the Cyber Dragon, if you were to use that as an engine, is Machine Dupe's really kind of cool. But then on top of that as well, you can also utilize Clockwork Knight and the Clockwork Knight, so the Link Monster and the spell card. Then you can also use Yugioh, and Yugioh gives you the ability to summon itself out plus a Cyber Dragon, and that's your Nova, Infinity, Affinity Absorb, and then you can start utilizing your other machine monsters to get you into your RB plays. Anyway, that's it for the entire profile. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.